ribbon and the White Cane Safety Day. We'll look at the consent items next, and those consent items include the minutes and the items under 6B, City Attorney.
All right, the first item Alex is going to take up. We'll see whether he got the pronunciation right on this.
This is
Hydrofluosilicic.
hydrofluosilicic.
Can we say it after you?
Hydrofluorosilicic acid.
I practiced that all night. So this is a proposal from Univar Solutions USA for the annual supply of that acid for the city's water utilities department. It's used in the TV Williams and Cumbie water treatment plants. Univar was the sole bidder in response to an ITB, which opened last month and closed September 13th, 2023. The bid allows for 5 one-year renewals upon mutual agreement. Based off of the city's estimated usage, the estimated annual cost for the city for FY24 would be $54,000, which is included in the FY24 budget. And it's recommended the City Commission approve the proposal, and Joe Costine is here to pronounce it and also explain kind of what, if you have any questions.
Anything you want to highlight the use of, perhaps, for us?
We add hydrofluorosilicic acid for prevention of dental caries. It's the addition of fluoride. That's what it's for.
For prevention of what?
Dental caries, cavities.
Got it. All right. How is that different from fluorides?
It is fluoride. That's where we get the fluoride ion from, is out of that acid.
Exactly. Thank you. I appreciate the science session. Any reason to take that off of consent? All right, moving on. I know Commissioner Music is in Ohio following his daughter's surgery on a foot injury she had as a track star. So she had a surgery this week, and they're staying there through the weekend. He will be here Monday. Okay. Okay, item 4. We'll leave that on consent.
Item 4 is the purchase of the uniforms.
Yeah, this is just an annual purchase of uniforms for energy delivery operations. This is the last year of the 5-year agreement. That'll expire at the end of September of 2024, and that total cost is $82,580. That's included in Lakeland Electric's budget, so we're just talking about uniforms here.
Any problems leaving that on consent? All right, we'll leave that on as well. Number 5.
This is the well inspection services for the Water Utilities Department. It's a proposal from Mudd's Power Pumps. This is basically a going back to a bid from a while back where there's 5 one-year renewals, and this would be based off the city's estimate, $150,000 for FY24, which is included, which is the same cost as last year. And Joe's also here to speak on that as well.
Any interest in or around out on that? Commissioner Simmons? All right, we'll leave it on consent. Okay, and number 7.
Item 7 is the agreement with the Southern Group for the continuation of their lobbying services for the city of Lakeland. That's Dave Shepp is our rep with Southern Group, as you all know. He has been the city's lobbyist in various forms for the last 22 years. The Southern Group has been on a month-to-month contract with the city since 2015 at the rate of $5,000 per month. This will increase their rate to $7,500 per month. They will continue to provide us the lobbying services that they've been providing over the years. And as you know, they've been providing enhanced reporting on a regular basis during the session of issues involving the city of Lakeland. I don't know if that was the last 2 years, but nonetheless, they've increased the services that they're providing to the city of Lakeland. So the term of this contract is for 3 years with the option of 2 additional 1-year extensions upon mutual agreement of the parties. And there is a termination clause with or without cause on 30 days prior written notice if necessary.
And the extensions do not involve an additional increase?
No.
Correct.
I mean, that would be subject to negotiation, though. It's mutual consent.
Can it be done where it's fixed?
We can negotiate that, make a 5-year contract. But it is to exercise the extensions requires the mutual consent of the parties, so there's always the option for negotiation if you have it.
Okay. Comments on that?
We can do, I mean, it still has that 30-day
Right.
with or without cause, which helps me feel good about it. And just with regard to all the other lobbying groups and anybody else we would choose from the state of Florida, like, Dave understands and our nuances with Lakeland Electric and with, everything that we do here. So I feel like, all the lobbying cores are going up and up and up.
In fact, this is on the low end of.
It is,
that.
and this is one of the top 3 in the state. So I feel like to have the breadth of support that this group has now, I mean, if we needed a subject matter expert on just about anything, really anything, it's in their wheelhouse. So if Dave doesn't know, Dave has a very deep
Yes.
bench of support in and around Tallahassee, and they have offices all over.
They've been a very comprehensive provider. Any concerns? Yes, Commissioner McLeod.
No concerns. I'm good with this, Mayor, as is. I think to Commissioner McCarley's point, the Southern Group and Dave Shep have done a great job preparing us. There's so many issues during session, committee weeks, changes. I've always felt like we have the information we need as session moves forward, and consider them an extension of our city team, really. So,
And see it clearly.
yeah. What's that?
And they see issues clearly.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Ahead of time.
Well, and one thing too, just to add, is since I joined the commission, he has provided, and the group has provided more and more information because I live in that world. I live adjacent to that world pretty closely. So he's been very more than willing to bring me up to speed, especially when I first got here. And I know when Emily came on board, we worked really closely with him to get these updates and to stay ahead of things. And it's not just about a session, it's a year-long thing.
Yes.
So we're not paying this amount of money for 60 days of the year, we're paying for 365. And he helps us stay ahead of the curve locally, I think. So that's a really, for me, it's,
Okay.
that's one thing in my wheelhouse I can speak to.
Yes. And you might amplify why you're next door neighbors to this.
Just, for the public at large, so when I started working at Best Buddies International many, many moons ago, that was part of my foray was as state director of Florida's, working and lobbying the state government for state funding through Department of Education, Department of Children and Families, as well as other entities around the state of Florida. And then subsequently, after I met my late husband, who became a government relations director for Publix, and then in addition, I've just been in and around the system, and through the Randy Roberts Foundation, I have a lot of contacts, and my spider web of support really is in that world, as well as in, local, state, and federal government. So it's just something that I kind of bring to the table that I understand. It's a relationship-based business. That's how we're successful. So these relationships that Dave has are really, you can't go into session and do a Lakeland Day and expect to get your agenda pushed through. So we have this as a part of our toolkit. So we have Florida League of Cities, and then we have our lobbying team and core that we can go to, and they're the experts, and they, on several different matters, whether it's water, wastewater, Lakeland Electric, utility, whatever. So they're very, the world is a very relationship-based business, and those are really pivotal that we can pick up the phone and text our senators on a regular basis.
Great, thank you for that.
And
Commissioner Simmons.
legislators.
Just like to say that I had an opportunity to meet up with Mr. Shep in Tallahassee earlier during the year, and I was impressed with his knowledge, as well as when he came down here and gave us the summary of the legislative session. So I'm good with this.
Okay. So we'll leave it on consent? All right, so be it. That brings us back then to page 1. And we will have lots of clarity. We don't need to see that. Then we'll meet as an equalization board for that purpose. And so resolutions B1.
All right, a number of resolutions. The first one is a work order, a resolution authorizing a work order with the FDOT. A couple months ago, we entered into a master agreement with the FDOT whereby we can negotiate individual work orders or task authorizations with them when our facilities, utility facilities, are in their right-of-way, and this is one of those. So the DOT is going to be doing a major reworking of Lakeland Hills Boulevard between Parkview Place and Granada Street. Total resurfacing, rearranging drainage, the drainage system. And we obviously have a number of utilities that are affected, and in this particular case, it's water and wastewater facilities that need to be relocated and reconstructed. So this will authorize the FDOT's contractor to provide that to the city. The city has reviewed the plans and specifications that they're going to utilize and find those acceptable. Because we're in the right-of-way and not in city-owned easements, the costs that the contractor will charge are not reimbursable, so we'll have to fund those. The cost to relocate the water facilities is $3,360,000, and the cost to relocate the wastewater facility is $519,578. The assessment's been made that it's more efficient to have the DOT's contractor provide that service.
And this is finally getting to the work that, Chuck Barnaby's talked to us about for almost 5 years that we've kind of delayed and pushed back, and so on. We're finally getting there. Any questions on that one? All right, next.
Next is simply the resolution following up on the equalization of the different special assessment liens. Third item is a resolution we adopt before every election. It delegates certain duties to the city clerk and deputy city clerk that are necessary to be performed with each election. In particular, they will be given the authority to hire all the necessary poll workers to conduct the election. They've already entered into a number of, I think, all the leases we need now for the polling places. Approve the form of the ballot for the upcoming election, and then they will also be designated as acting members of the canvassing board for the limited purpose of conducting the logic and accuracy testing and also processing absentee ballots.
All right, any questions on that? As a reminder, the canvassing, we're down to just enough people on some of those days, correct?
Yeah,
That we have
although
on-
Commissioner Reed is now eligible to serve, I'm sure he's excited.
Oh, yes, that's right. Okay, so we have
Told
some
me in the
demo.
elevator, he was really excited.
And I emailed a link for the signature
it.
training,
Yes.
and so that's a requirement, that's a new requirement of the state now. If you're gonna serve on the canvassing board, you have to do the signature training. I'll send it to you, Commissioner Reed.
Which is really interesting. Commissioner?
Just a comment on that, in the last cycle, I chaired the canvassing board, and since I can't do that this time, I would turn that over to Commissioner Reed.
Good idea.
Mr. Chair.
So you guys not even being there, it should be concerned. I love this.
Kind of you.
We love to be flexible, sir.
It's like a congratulatory present.
That's right. It's like, it's like a housewarming gift, only from us. But so we want to make sure on canvassing, because I guess that is right, and I appreciate that, Commissioner Beth pointing that out, because it does give us some depth here. We can't be short when that
can't be
happens.
short.
And so it makes certain that's just something you hold, that's on your calendar, that we hold it well. Okay, next.
All right, the next item is a resolution just authorizing the purchase of various items of equipment and 46 vehicles that are just necessary for the routine city operations. There's a long list of those vehicles and equipment that needs to be purchased. This resolution authorizes those assets to be purchased in an amount not to exceed $3 million. The actual cost of each individual item may be slightly different as we get to the final purchasing of those items, but as long as we're under the $3 million, this gives us the authority we need to acquire those assets.
Questions on that? Gary, can I ask you a question? As we look at vehicles and we look at EVs, can you comment on EVs generally and just where they are in our life cycle as a city, from your perspective?
I would say that with the city and the way the city is built, EVs have a very limited return on investment right now based on utilization. A lot of our vehicles just don't get driven enough. Some do, the meter readers being a, field services folks being a good example. The police vehicles obviously get utilized a lot, but that's EV, I don't know. Maybe we've seen the Blazer video yet, Chief? I have. Yes, they just approved a PPV Blazer EV police vehicle. It really just comes down to how much money they cost right now, and when it starts flattening out a little bit, it'll be a lot more, and we are buying some hybrid stuff here and there, buying a few EVs. We got 4 more Lightnings coming, as you probably know, but for instance, we had to email about some e-transit vans. Our vans don't go anywhere, they just drive around in little circles, so that's a tough fit. Right now, they're just a tough fit across the fleet. You find little places where we can put them in and get them introduced, become accustomed to the technology, and in the meantime, we wait for things to become more affordable. But as long as we're more of a compact, now, if we were a county, for instance, or a sheriff's office, some of the sheriff's office in the state, they're employing a lot of EV. Leon County Sheriffs is a good example. They're doing a lot of electric vehicle stuff, and they're committed to it. But they've got the ranges to return that investment. They're
That's a
driving
good
all over the
distinction.
county. We're way different. So right now, it's kind of a weird thing for us. It doesn't fit in a lot of places.
And I really ask that on an impromptu basis, because I think it's important when we talk about why do we not see the presence of more electric vehicles within our fleets, because it's not cost-effective yet, is really the bottom line, or you have to have the right, very zeroed-in right applications. And so when that, it's not going to be something near-term until those costs change dramatically as they go forward. Having been in that business personally myself in an earlier life, Ford's pulled Lightnings out of their whole lineup this year. So there's not even a 24 Lightning vehicle. And so they're working out of the 23s, that we're looking at. And so there's still a lot of work to be done in that regard. And I just think it's important for us when people ask that question, why not? That's really the answer. And we thank you for your staying so close to the vehicles and guiding us well, too.
Well, I'm trying. Thank you. Real quick, I will not be at commission Monday morning, so if you get any questions about the contract itself that we use or whatever, it'd probably be a good time to hit me now.
Are there any? Why are you laughing?
I just appreciate the disclosure. I do too.
All right. Next.
All right, the next item is a resolution authorizing eminent domain and hopefully purchase prior to eminent domain of the remaining two parcels that we need in order to complete the Lakeland Park Center Drive extension. This would be between Union Drive and Carpenter's Way. Greg's pulling up the map. I don't know if you have an aerial that will show where these two parcels are, but go ahead, Greg.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is working towards trying to complete our North Lakeland Eastern Connector that we've talked about for, I think, 15 years now. If you remember back in 2014, we reconstructed what was Crevasse when the shopping center was built, and the road stops just east of where Ford's Garage is today. We began working on connecting Fields, BMW, Cracker Barrel, with Carpenter's Way, with the idea of going all the way over to Ford's Garage. But in the midst of our design, we located the 21-inch gas pipeline that was going to cost us about $5 million to relocate to get the road in there. So we reevaluated this whole segment to see if it benefited us just go forward with one phase and come back later and complete the other at a point in time that it was feasible. And I think it was in 2012 that we came back with a recommendation to go ahead and design and build the eastern connection. And then at a point in time that it was feasible, we'd come back and do Carpenter's Way to Union Drive. And so with the sale of the golf course and redevelopment of it, now's the time for us to go ahead and complete the connector. And so we are about 30% design, and we've identified the necessary right-of-way that we need for it. Most of it comes from the golf course, but we do have a couple parcels here at Union Drive that we need to acquire. These are the two parcels. This is Interstate 4, Union Drive, Lakeland Park Center Drive to the south. These are two residential parcels that are adjacent to the I-4 right-of-way. If you're familiar, we also have, Lakeland Electric has a 230 kV line that comes down through here as well. And the gas pipeline is in this area too. It's a 40-foot easement, so our road will be offset roughly about 40 feet to the north. This is also where we have our proposed stormwater retention plan. So we're looking at purchasing both parcels in fee simple and not just a portion.
What happens just to the west of that lot?
The road comes through, and we actually have a clip here, and then it ties into the existing right-of-way going west.
Okay. And you're off the line, the gas line at that point?
Yeah, well, the gas line actually ends up underneath pavement, and so that was my question to them, if y'all can, live with your pipeline under pavement there, why can't we build our new road in that fashion? But they didn't buy it. So, this is the property that we're looking at, looking eastward from what would be Union Drive or Ford's Garage. That's looking back to the west.
Great connection.
That's one of the manufactured homes on one of the parcels, and then a residential home on the second parcel. Basically, we have been in negotiation. We've made a couple, an offer and counteroffer, and we're very far apart. And so in order for us to move forward, we need the ability to litigate. We've been very successful. I've been doing right-of-way acquisition for more than 30 years, and I think out of those 30 years, I've only had 5 cases that have gone to jury trial. The remainder of them we've been able to settle, or a good tool for us has been mediation, and so I've been able to settle most of these at that point in mediation.
And we'll hope we get that done, because that'll save you time.
Yes.
Okay, questions? That's Commissioner Reed.
Are we not offering enough, or I know I've been through several of those. There's a big advantage to the seller.
We have our appraised value. We've offered higher than appraised value. Their asking price is twice appraised value. And so the appraisal on this is, I think, was $518,000.
For both?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
We're doing total taking, not partial taking on the
It'll be a
same
total.
property?
Correct, because we're going to build both the road and the stormwater ponds on this property.
Who's their appraiser? You got any idea?
No, they haven't produced an appraisal. I've asked for one, but they haven't produced one. So I think at the point that we've authored, when we get authorization to use eminent domain, it opens the door then for them, under threat of condemnation. We're responsible for reasonable expert fees and stuff like that, so I expect they'll hire an appraiser at that point.
Do you know if those were owner-occupied or rentals?
Owner.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Greg. Just a reminder, the timeline on the overall construction, having this done.
Good question. Right now, we do not have. Yeah, I had, looking at potential of 2026 opening. Right now, we're at 30% design. We've got an estimate of about $600,000 to finish design. And then construction's estimated around $6 million. And so neither design nor construction are currently in our transportation fund CIP. So that's something we'll be working on this fiscal year to figure that timeline and figure out how we go about, paying for it. We don't have enough at the moment in impact fee revenue to just pay cash going forward. So we're probably looking at doing some type of a, internal loan or some other fancy type of financing. We'll work out with finance on that.
That will be a really important connector. Finished.
Yeah, especially with the redevelopment, it's going to be important.
Right. Important to alleviate the traffic to the north,
Correct.
For people. Other questions, comments? All right, next. Thank you, Chair.
The next item is a long time coming, but the time is right now to do this. It's a dissolution of our local Public Employees Relation Commission board. Alex has been working on this, and we'll describe what we're going to do.
Certainly. This is, so pursuant to 447-603 Florida statutes, the city created what's called the Lakeland Public Employees Relations Commission, and that was back in 1974. And since the state has removed that ability for local governments to kind of create those boards, and that was done in '79, so we've been grandfathered in. And over time, the number of local governments that have had their own local option has dwindled, and now there are 3 left. It would be us, Palm Beach, and Pinellas County. And as of now, none of them are active, and the state of Florida's PERC up in Tallahassee essentially does all of that work already. And so at this point, just based off of recent legislative changes, it makes sense to just kind of go forward with dissolving our local PERC board and transferring jurisdiction. And so the way that this is going to work operationally would be that we send a notice of intent to PERC in Tallahassee and let them know and get there, because you have to get prior approval for us to take any action on this. And so once we do that, then they'll help us coordinate in terms of transferring, various, coordinating information and communication with our bargaining units, because they're the ones that we need to make sure that there's a smooth transition to the state level. And so once we do that, and we get all that information from Tallahassee, then we can proceed with their permission to dissolve our local PERC board by ordinance. And so we're looking to bring this in for a landing by the end of the month. And then, it will be on the state in terms of how they manage it. And they're much better equipped for a lot of these issues. And they've been doing it for a long time, obviously. So,
What are the most complicated components of that transfer?
I think it's going to be the complications about certification of the bargaining units, just because there are new changes that have happened. The Senate Bill 256 added new requirements on bargaining units in terms of percentage of the dues-paying members, as well as they're required now to have audited financial statements by a CPA. And if we were to take on that responsibility, it would place us in the position of having to verify all of that information, and then also we would have the authority or the right under the law to challenge our own interpretation of it, and just kind of becomes a weird scenario that I think making sure that they're taken care of by the state and we get everything that we need that minimizes any kind of disruption to them, and just kind of making sure that PERC has everything they need. Good.
Yeah, I think it's a lot better situation to have the state PERC determine whether our unions are going to be certified or not versus us.
Right.
So, but they're set up for this. They've got professional staff. There's a huge body of case law that they're familiar with to administer all the different things they do. They hear unfair labor practices, determine whether a bargaining unit will be certified or not. So it makes all the sense in the world to transfer this to the state.
Any questions? All right, number 7.
All right, 7 is authorizing entering into a grant agreement with the DOT for security enhancements and upgrades at Lakeland International Airport, some fencing, cameras, and that type of thing. The DOT, the total cost of this project is estimated at $450,000. DOT will pay 80% of those costs, up to a maximum of $360,000, and the airport will pay a 20% match, or $90,000. And I know there are a couple of items on the city manager's portion of the agenda to actually enter into contracts for the implementation of those improvements. So this is just accepting the grant amount from the DOT for that project.
Questions? Yes, Commissioner Reed?
Can you bring a map?
No. There's security. We're going to broadcast where our security is.
I want to see where the fence is going to
So what's really funny about that question is yesterday in the office, I'm like, I wonder if I should try to figure out how to bring a map. But it is random security fence areas that just doesn't meet our standards any longer. And we're also just adding camera coverage on the airport. We started about probably 5 or 6 years ago, putting cameras in various places on the airport, and we're just expanding that coverage on the airport. And then also the access control systems to our gates in our buildings are outdated, so the software isn't supported anymore. This was originally a $350,000 grant. Of course, with inflation and cost of everything going up, I talked with our partner at the state, at the FDOT, and she agreed to add another $100,000 to this to allow us to be able to do better coverage on the airport. So
Will that
that's what
have
this,
razor wire on top?
it's not razor wire, it's barbed wire.
Okay.
Yeah, but we are required to have a 7-foot plus 1 foot for TSA requirements and state security requirements.
I tried to go over one once, and it's really hard. It was during Sun and Fun, and I'd walked myself into a far end, and there was no way out.
Come back to that camera.
Yeah, we need one. This would have been a good one next year. The mayor of Lakeland.
Yeah. Well, I got my pants stuck on the barbed wire on the top, so we're not good. All right, little things you didn't even know.
Moving on.
Yes.
All right, the next item is also a grant agreement with the FDOT related to the airport. This is for the replacement of the airport's automated weather observation system. The DOT will kick in, again, 80% of the cost of doing that. We'll kick in 20% match. Total estimated cost of the project is $120,000. So the DOT share would be up to $96,000 and the city share would be up to $24,000.
Questions on this? Okay, next.
All right, the next item is also a grant agreement, except this with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection rather than the DOT. In the last legislative session, the legislature appropriated, I think it was $1,200,000 for the Lakeland Water Education Center out of 7 wetlands. So this is authorizing us to enter into an agreement with them for that project. The state would provide funding in the amount of $950,000 towards that, and the city would fund the remaining $250,000 of the project costs.
And this has been a long time coming. Any questions on that?
Very long time coming,
Yes, it
and
is.
where that Mr. Shep comes in handy.
Yes, correct. And she has persistence on this, and Colleen Burton worked very, very hard on this as well. Okay, nothing else on that? Then let's go to city manager. And we appreciate our deputy city manager filling in.
Yeah, I'm happy to be back.
Yes.
So this first one is to award a purchase order to Infrastructure Management Services LLC, or IMS, for our pavement and sidewalk assessments. So this is the assessment the city uses to determine the PCI, what we call, or the pavement condition index for the roads, and the sidewalk assessment that'll help ensure we comply with the American Disabilities Act, or ADA. So the last time we did it was in 2020 with IMS, and we are using IMS by piggybacking the contract with Volusia County. So this is in our transportation fund in our CIP, and it's $229,120. We have staff here if you want to talk more about it. Good.
Any questions on this? Next.
The second one is to award a bid to Ride Cars Construction LLC, and this is to replace the RP Funding Center Jenkins Arena roof. And so this is due to age, leaks, and damage from Hurricane Ian. Ride Cars Construction out of Tampa is the winning bid at $2,650,000. This is claimed through our insurers. So the total deductible is $629,123. And this is awarding the bid, and then it's also doing the appropriation, an increase in estimated revenues in the Hurricane Ian Disaster Fund in that amount of $2,650,000. And this is something, so we're running it through, it's a claim through our insurance, and then also we're going to seek FEMA reimbursement, which of course we know takes years.
Right.
So that's where, and it talks about that in the memo.
And the deductible on this, just to go back to our earlier insurance conversation, is $629,000 on this project, which is why holding that at 5% was important.
Yep, and the insurance coverage is providing us a $500,000 advance for the claim damage. So good team effort.
Great
to
work.
get this done.
Yeah.
I've got a question.
Yes, Commissioner Simmons.
We have an insurance person in here, a risk insurance
Joyce
person.
Dias.
Yeah, she not here?
No, but go ahead and ask, and we can get you an answer on Monday if we can't answer.
Okay, what I'm curious about is, when we receive the funds from the insurance company for damages, have we received it lately? How much have we received? Where has it been applied? Have we received it from any of the hurricanes that we've had?
Oh,
I'm sure we have over time, and it's just applied back. If we had to pay for it in advance, it just reimburses that fund. We try to run all of if it's hurricane damage, we have an emergency fund we set up, and then we just reimburse ourselves into that fund. But we get insurance claims from time to time throughout the year, and it just goes to reimburse. So oftentimes, for example, Lakeland Electric has made a claim on Unit 5. That could take multiple years, and they'll just reimburse their expense accounts at that time.
And FEMA as well on the reimbursements. Right. So both of those coming in.
So does the city commission, are we ever made aware of when we get these monies back in?
No. Well, we get monies in all the time. We would notify you of that. Money's coming in for anything, really.
Right. What I mean is, I know, for instance, a few months ago, one of the electric engines went out. And
Unit 5.
yeah, we had a claim for that. I'm just wondering, that was a lot of money.
It's still ongoing.
And that could be years before we get those monies back.
Right, but
Right.
we've had other instances with hurricanes, damages, and claims. Which should be a lot of money. I'm just curious as to whenever they come in, if they come in. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
But most of the monies that come in from hurricane come from FEMA, not from our insurance companies. They come from FEMA.
Right.
Right. This was a surprise that our insurance company even covered this roof. We thought for sure it was going to be 100% FEMA. Well, all covered by FEMA except for our, we may have a small portion, but yeah, we get, Joyce gets revenues in all the time from insurance for small claims and those types of things, and they just go back into whatever fund provided those initial funds. And if it's our self-insurance fund or comes directly out of one of our other funds.
I think Commissioner Simmons might be interested too in the importance of cash and reserves to be able to carry that reimbursement rates, and you could use Key West as an example.
Yeah, yes, having days cash is obviously the biggest blessing for being able to solve problems. The last two big hurricanes we had were $26 and $28 million in cost to the city, and we were eligible to get everything back that we had applied for from FEMA, so that for both of those large hurricanes, we got everything back that we could. So our cost in itself was probably less than $300,000 or $400,000 per instance. The rest was all reimbursed, but those go right back into those funds that provide it. We have an emergency fund that provides it, and then there'll be some for electric and some for the other funds, that solid waste, for example. And having the cash to do it up front is key. Having those days cash is key, because you got to start spending money right away.
Which Key West couldn't do, for example, didn't have enough cash. Is it Taylor that does the consulting for FEMA's reports? You might also talk about that.
It was Thompson.
Thompson.
But is it still Thompson?
Yes.
Okay, still Thompson. Yeah. So they are experts in interacting with FEMA as a liaison, and so they have been instrumental for us for a great deal of time, much of which is also reimbursable by FEMA.
Right, I appreciate that. My thinking is that, if we put out, millions of dollars, $26 million, when it comes back in, I'd like to know that it came back in,
So Joyce just texted me and said we had no Irma claims, and because we did not meet the deductible, and we're still working on Ian, so Joyce can come Monday.
All right,
If you want to, yeah.
It might look at an aggregation of the last couple of hurricanes in terms of,
She's
and
listening.
the timing's horrible on these
Right.
reimbursements.
And what we did with Irma is we made sure that we provided the city manager's office, I think it was probably quarterly, as we were starting to get monies in from the different projects that FEMA was reimbursing. We just kind of gave them an update, and I think at times we might have even provided those to the commission at one point, but it was just basics of, hey, here's where we are, here's how much is left outstanding, and it was 5 and 6 years later before I think we got the rest of it. But it comes in just little chunks here and there as the government gets through it. So, but we can sure continue to do that with large events like that. Hopefully it won't be for a long time.
Right.
But
thank you.
Yeah, yes.
And those reimbursements from FEMA require the actual information, so you have to know exactly the what's that called?
Coordinates.
Coordinates of where those are, and they provide pictures in order to be reimbursed.
We had to document every single tree that was lost within our city limits that was city property.
City property.
Every single one. And then you had to provide a photograph, you had to provide
GPS coordinates.
GPS coordinates, you had to provide a ruler, a photograph of a ruler showing the diameter of the stump, how high the stump was off the ground. If you remove the stump, if you put dirt back in the ground, where did you get the dirt? Provide the coordinates for the dirt. So yeah, there's a lot to it. That's why it's great to have a consultant as well. But all of that comes from all of your coworkers, all of our coworkers in the different departments, that Public Works and Parks and everybody involved in providing that data. So it takes a good while for even the government to process that, to then start providing monies back.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sure.
Thank you. So it's complicated. Yes, Commissioner Reed.
Thank you, and again, I want to commend Mike. I know in the past you've done a great job in getting these reimbursements. It is time-consuming and very detailed work. It's ironic. I was in Valdosta visiting my sister after the hurricane came through, and they got devastated. This is the first time they've ever had any big, it was mostly tree damage. And I stopped, and ironically, I was there, and the city manager was at a function I was at, and I told him to contact you, because if they don't do it right, you don't get any money back. And I don't know if he reached out to you yet, but
No, sir. No.
they got mega millions out there, but he may reach out to you. But I told him, I said, it's
Glad to
quite
help.
detailed, and you need to get the right people together to do it, or you're not going to get anything back.
Right.
Thank you.
Glad to help.
Any other questions, sir? Well, we'll interrupt our cadence here because David Shep just came in from the Southern Group, and we talked about the increase, and it was favorable to move.
You didn't get your money.
I apologize for being late. Well, it's because it was on consent, so it got early. But you might want to just talk about that increase related to what's going on overall and its appropriateness and all that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, Commissioners. I apologize for being a little late this morning and missing the item. I'd like to thank you very much for your consideration of that request. We have enjoyed our relationship with the city for the past 22 years now, and there is a lot still on the horizon that we need to take care of. Obviously, we have challenges with our utility, with Lake Electric, and just an atmosphere around the state of how municipal electrics operate, and so we do have some minds to change up in Tallahassee on that regard. We are very blessed with a great delegation that understands the role that Lake Electric plays in the community and being able to maintain it as is. We've had some recent successes, obviously, with the Polk Regional Water Cooperative, moving Florida forward, and some funding out 7 wetlands, but there's still a lot of work to be done. And we see a lot more opportunity in being able to drive down more resources for our water needs here in Polk County to continue to grow, especially in Lakeland. So appreciate your support. As always, we have new members coming into Tallahassee with different ideas that impact local governments, and we're proud to be your voice up in Tallahassee and do what we need to make sure that Lakeland succeeds.
Yeah, do that, and we don't always know what we need to anticipate as future items, which is another part of the great value you provide.
So we'll be back here in 2 weeks. We have our agenda item coming up for the Legislative Affairs Committee on October 13th to be able to discuss what we see on the horizon for the 24th session, for what our requests are going to be. I know that Rob and Emily are still pulling that together from our department heads, and we'll be ready to roll in 2 weeks and look forward to continued success.
Good. Any questions from commissioners at all? And we appreciate the great work that you do, and we'll be taking a look at that to finalize it on Monday.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just hate to have you be here and not have a chance to weigh in, so thank you for doing that. All right, well, next.
Okay, so we are under City Manager, item C. So C and D are related both to the airport. So item C is a task authorization with RJR Contractor LLC for the fence and gate installations at the airport. And this is to replace the 4,850 linear feet of fencing, 13,950 linear feet of barbed wire, and install 4 gates along the perimeter. This is the 80-20 split between FDOT and the airport fund, with the airport being responsible for the $60,591. So this is to approve the task authorization with RJR Contractor LLC.
Any questions on that? Next.
The next one is the task authorization with Miller Electric Company, and this is also at the airport for the gate camera installations and controller replacements. Chris alluded to this earlier, and it's to install 7 additional cameras and replace 16 gate and door controllers. And this is the 80-20 split, also with FDOT airport fund being responsible for $28,616.66. So this is to approve the task authorization and at the $143,000 total.
And Chris, will this be all the gates? Does that include every gate that accesses?
Some of our gates, we've had lightning strikes and such, so we've had to upgrade that hardware prior, right? These are the remaining gates that still need the access control. There's some gates that need new controllers. Just, it's very random, spread out.
And both of these contracts are on continuing contract. That's how we award it.
Commissioner McCarley.
Chris, how long have they been there? Like, how long are the cameras? I know you just said lightning strikes we've replaced, but how old is the system, I think, that we're trying to replace?
So the camera system that we're adding to is, we really started, I think Gene and I started that initiative probably like 4, maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
And we've just, every year, we've been adding 2-3 cameras at a time to try to catch folks like the mayor and provide Sergeant Munbauer with some documentation. But the controllers have been in place, you know, like the controllers for gate access before my time. I want to say that was probably 2013-ish, if I was to wager a guess, that we really upgraded our system into the city network and stand alone with the airport.
So will this new system keep us longer? I mean, with the technology, do you think? Or do you think it's going to ebb and flow and we'll do it again in X number of years?
We definitely are going to have to, you know, technology changes. It changes how our security programs work. We are tied to the city's program as well. So if the city changes their program, then we have to change our program. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. You know, Genetec is a great system that we use. And
this will get you completely up to speed.
There's never a such thing as complete, I guess. But it fills in a bunch of our holes and fixes a bunch of our needs that we have today. What's interesting is we applied for the grant, you know, like 3 years ago. And we've been just kind of follow-up money is what we put those grants in for, is, hey, state, when you ever have any extra money, right? So it's evolved, even in that 3 years, our priorities have kind of changed a little bit as it evolves. It constantly evolves. Security is constantly being upgraded at the airport.
And actually lowering costs in many
which is,
cases.
Yeah.
You know.
I think it's really good that you're continually looking at it because it does change all the time. So you're not going to be caught with, you know, on your heels. So you guys are ahead of it.
Yeah, and we'll put another grant request in. As soon as this project is complete, we'll put another security grant, probably for $250,000, $300,000 in to say, hey, we got more we can do if you got money. Right.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mann.
Thank you. So I'm just curious with regard to, like, you know, tenants that you have at the airport, does that dictate security measures? Like, do they ever reach out to and say, I don't feel like this is sufficient security for whatever they are doing within their hangars and things? Just curious about that. Like, if it's just you guys, you're picking out whatever you think is the best security, or if you get feedback from tenants needing upgrades.
So yes, we do get feedback from tenants. Prime example would be NOAA. NOAA wants certain coverage around their facility because it's not a federal facility, but it's occupied by a federal agency, right? So we've added and made sure that that was right when we did our construction. I've had tenants who have concerns about something, and we'll say, hey, we can try to eliminate this concern by putting this camera facing this direction. So yes, the tenants have input, but we also have, I don't want to call them problem areas, but areas of concern to us that we need to kind of keep an eye on to keep the wild, wild west out of the airport. You know, so. And really what's been handy with the camera systems since we've installed them is, you know, FAA and NTSB has used them when we do have those really bad days where we have an incident. One of the cameras typically is going to catch it of what happened. And I mean, we've had airplanes where I've seen them all the way coming down, right? And that's evidence as to what happened, right? It helps the FAA and NTSB. We use it for gates that get hit in LPD. It's very handy for LPD to have that footage to say, yo, hit and run, right? Because it happens out there. A couple times a year we get gates that get hit, whether it's whatever reason.
Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. Do we have the fences that have voice command? If you get near it, step back, stuff like that? Or do we think we'll ever need a need for electric fences?
I certainly hope we don't have to go down that road. We do not at this time. there is technology in a couple of our gate controllers that if we would activate it, which our security plan doesn't allow us to do, a siren would open the gate, right? So if a fire or police would pull up to the gate and have their siren and turn their valve on, gate opens. We don't use that because of our security plan requirements, but technology is there.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. And that is it for you. That brings us to city attorney ordinances for first reading. Just run us through those, please.
All right, all right, the first item is a major modification of PUD zoning to allow a freestanding emergency room on property at the northeast corner of Carpenter's Way and US 98 North, and we'll be teeing up some maps here in a second. Matt?
Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to have you here, Matt.
Good to see you, Mr. Mayor. This is the property at the northeast corner of Carpenter's Way and 98 North. It's the old SunTrust branch bank, some of you may remember. Closed in January 2021. Recent years, we've seen a lot of banks closing. They've been moving more online, and so they're kind of the future redevelopment opportunity. I know on South Florida Avenue, there are a couple that have redeveloped in the last few years here. So we expect that trend will continue. The property is currently zoned as part of the PUD for Carpenter's Way, and under the zoning, it was really limited to a bank. So anything they want to redevelop other than the bank would require a modification to the zoning.
Is there a goal to use that building, by the way? As is?
They're going to demolish the whole thing and start over here. So the application is being submitted by HCA Florida. They operate the other freestanding ER on South Florida across from Merchants Walk. And here's the proposed site plan. It's 11,570 square feet. I believe the current building's about 5,000 square feet, so it's a little more than twice the size. And then we'll have the ambulance pickup drop-off area, the canopy there in the front, and the parking will wrap around the building with access on both Carpenter's Way and Corporate Avenue. And these are the building elevations here. So the use is actually less of a traffic generator than a bank would be. So from our experience, these uses they're relatively low impact there. I think when we got the first one, we were much more wary because we thought we were going to have a lot of ambulances and other maybe late night traffic, but really they turned out to be fairly benign. And we do have conditions for approval, which are, I believe, are going to be in your packet here. But, any questions?
No, benign's a good term for a healthcare facility. Questions? Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Matt. In the staff recommendation, it says that letters of notification were mailed to 18 property owners and objections were received.
No objections were received. I should state that. So
okay, so it's just missing a no. Mine says and objections were received. I was wondering if there were, what those were, or if it was missing the word no.
Yeah, we didn't receive any. We did have one resident who didn't live in the area. She was questioning the notification radius and suggested that we send out letters to minimum of 500 properties instead of within 500 feet. So that was the only comment we really had. But
Commissioner McCartney.
Does the fire department LPD, do they look at this before it's approved, like just as far as access of emergency services?
Yeah, so PUD modification requires concept plan review, which includes fire. It does not typically include police.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Under the fire inspection and plans examiner.
Okay.
Commissioner Reed.
Thank you. Brian, what kind of, I know that intersection is intense, to make a long story short. And they're going to build a new building. What kind of impact fee will they'll pay to help enter that intersection in a future dates or something like that?
they'll get the impact fee credits for the bank, then the difference will be assessed at the hospital rate for whatever that is. That'll be what they pay for the new building.
So they're gonna get credits as opposed to giving us money?
No, they're gonna have to pay, but they'll get partial credit for the bank for part of that.
But a full charge for the hospital.
Even if they totally demolish it, I guess, yeah, they get those credits over there, okay? Okay.
They'll pay the difference.
The difference, yes.
Any other questions? Good question. And number 2.
All right, number 2 is a rezoning from multifamily to low-impact office on some property on the eastern leg of Lemon Street, 1303 Lemon Street.
This property is east of Lake Parker Avenue south and south of East Main Street. It's about the southeast corner of Taylor Avenue and East Lemon here. And it's currently zoned at multifamily. And the request before you today is to rezone to O1 low impact office. This is just for conventional zoning, not be any type of binding site plan. The Ken Hare is the new owner. He wants to redevelop it for a incubator with O1 uses, either like financial services, that type of use there. And I guess the argument here is that the property's been vacant for several years. We did see a couple of years back a proposal to do a fourplex on the property, but it really has not been a lot of demand for residential there, and it may be the demographics in the area, but we've not seen any real push there despite the need for housing in the area there. So the O1 would still potentially allow for multifamily. If this does not move forward, so that use would be preserved there. But otherwise, it would be office, some limited personal services. Those types of uses would be the ideal here.
Commissioner McCarley.
It's not just south of the Crown Printing
Yes.
thing, okay. I was just trying to get my mental,
I didn't have it, so that's
my
good.
visual around it. Because that's Family Life Worship, right? Up on
Right,
the top
correct.
right-hand corner.
The church across the street there.
Yeah.
And there's the mobile home park to the south. They had called asking about, I think, wanted to buy, they want to put more mobile homes, but this is something we would really consider.
And you think that's the most appropriate thing to do?
It's the least objectionable thing to do. The applicant wanted C2 zoning, and we sort of negotiated to a place that was better for the neighborhood, but also allows the applicant to move forward with their plans for what I believe is a bit of a small-scale incubator type project.
Okay, good.
And then the block of Lemon Street, it's on, it does terminate in a cul-de-sac there, so there are a handful of like single-family homes, some older residential properties down there. I think we did receive one email, I think we mentioned in the staff report, concerned about the traffic impacts and compatibility there, so we did note that in the staff report.
Other questions? Commissioner Madden?
In that area, are there other parcels available for multifamily? Just curious, because it does seem like it'd be a great place for.
They're not significant in size, but there possibly could be an assemblage of land. But there is some multifamily scattered throughout that area.
Yeah, a lot of the properties here, they were actually, they were kind of carved out through like a meets and bounds subdivision back in the 1940s or so. So they're kind of older properties here. And there's one we met with Graham Waller recently and talked about redeveloping. It's that little odd-shaped kiosk there, but yeah, we take some assembly there to really kind of do anything intense under the current zoning.
Yes, Commissioner
Are they ever, I haven't driven out there in a while, is there connectivity of sidewalks and things, so if it, like, from that mobile home park over to, because there's like a dollar store right there on Lake Parker, isn't there, and isn't Lime Street Elementary just south of all that?
Yeah,
How
Philip
connected is
O'Brien
that?
would be further south. There's a dollar store, I believe, over on Lake Parker,
Yeah.
referring to.
Yeah, but there's a sidewalk down that street.
Is there? Okay. I just haven't driven back in there. If we're thinking multi-family, I just want to be cognizant of, I know we're not right now, but in the broader discussion for future planning, I know you guys are really good at that, but.
Well, and it's walkable to
Yeah.
Memorial and all those things, and we try to find areas for multifamily to be near village centers.
Access.
Yeah, if
So
you
we
were
don't have to do it all
doubling that
night.
lot to the east, it would be a nice site.
So these are the photos. It is a very well covered site with trees. The canopy here, you can see.
Are most of those trees able to be kept in this design?
Yeah, I think they tend to try to preserve as many as they can here. So that would be, I think looking over to the south of Taylor Avenue, that would be down towards Philip O'Brien.
The sidewalk on the other side.
And that's north of the north towards the back of where Crown Printing was.
Nice big lot.
Yeah. That's the mobile home park there to the south, you can see on the right.
Other questions? Okay, next.
All right, next item is an application of C1 zoning on about a quarter acre at 1050 Sharon Drive, which is north of the I-4 and east of US 98 north.
Okay, this next request, it's with the application of C1 zoning. It's a former residential lot. It was left when this area was being assembled for the development of Lakeland Park Center Shopping Center back in the mid-2000s. There were several holdouts. I guess for whatever reason, the developer either wanted too much money or didn't fit their plans. They did not acquire, and this is one of them. It's to the east of GFS, if you're familiar, that Gordon Food Service there. So it's not right on US 98, but it is south of Lakeland, of the Shops of Lakeland Shopping Center and west of Lakeland Park Center. And they do have Regional Activity Center feature land use there. So the applicant is basically the trustee. They're just looking to sell the property. They don't have any plans for development. And initially they wanted C2, but after meeting with staff, we agreed to support C1, which would allow for some limited commercial, but not the more impactive, like liquor stores, used car lots, pawn shops, pending loans, stuff like that. So it would more the sort of lower impact, which would be appropriate, not being directly on US 98 there. So again, this is just for straight zoning. There are no plans for any development at this time.
Questions? Next.
Next is expansion of a church office building and some support services for the elderly on a church, existing church on Home 100.
Okay, this next request is to amend the existing conditional use, which was approved in the early 2000s for a former single-family home for the St. Paul Missionary Institutional Church, to use its church offices. And here's a picture of the home on the left here, the yellow building. And basically, they want to do about a little over 1,000 square foot addition here, and it's for the just the Faith in Action, that's sort of the ministry group that does the outreach, primarily services for the elderly. I believe they also maybe operate like a small food pantry there. But they primarily help out with like yard work, small repairs, bringing meals, stuff like that. And they have a small kind of meeting area already here. And to the west there, that's it's like a wholesale trade. I believe it's a battery distribution building. And so this one, they are adopting a new site plan. They will be required to improve the parking, landscaping, and buffering. The old conditional use, they really did not make any improvements to the property, so it was not for the street of that, really in line with the current code. So they will add a total of 2 ADA and 3 regular spaces here, and they do have an additional parking next door to the church for the overflow. And these are the elevations that they will add, you know, a new elevation on front here and meet all the current code requirements for the 3 feature and buffering and all that.
Questions? That's Milford. Okay. Yes, sir.
This is a church doing this, is that right?
Yes, the church owns the property next door, so that it would be for like their kind of their social outreach, you know, for.
But it is a separate 501c3.
Churches don't pay any impact fees, do they?
They do pay impact fees,
Yes,
sir.
they don't pay taxes, but yeah, they pay impact fees.
And this is modification of an existing building.
Yes, it was a single-family home that they converted to office space, and now they're wanting to add this addition here.
Okay. Any questions? All right, next item.
All right, next item is conditional use to convert a single-family dwelling to a duplex on East Peachtree Street.
Okay, this next item goes back several years. 2017, the previous owner was cited for converting an existing single-family home into a fourplex without any permits or zoning approvals. And they tried to go through the process after they were caught, and I believe the project has to compliance for fire, building code, you know, all that to bring it up to code. It was going to be cost prohibitive. It is a like a 1920s bungalow. It was probably one time, you know, your typical sort of craftsman style, but as you can see, it's been heavily modified over the years. And this is the Peachtree, and this is looking from Morgan Avenue. That slab you see there is actually a Cold War era bomb shelter, which we kind of learned, kind of interesting.
Underneath it?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
And that's the current parking here. So the new owner, they're basically just looking to convert the home back to a duplex, which would be permitted under the multifamily zoning through a conditional use. And for that, they would basically add a 1-hour firewall partition inside the structure. I believe the house is about 2,300 square feet currently, so each unit will be, you know, probably around approximately 1,100 square feet. And for the approval, they will have to locate all the parking to Morgan Avenue and remove the driveway in front. But otherwise, it's fairly simple here.
Okay, questions? Next.
Next item is a Parker Street Ministries project to build a duplex at 814 North Vermont.
Okay, this next request is a residential lot on the west side of North Vermont, north of Parker Street here. It's owned by Parker Street Ministries. And they are requesting approval to construct a new two-family duplex on the property. And strictly the construction is acting as their applicant, the contractor. Just the photos. And the duplex they want to build, it's basically, my understanding is they acquired the same plans that were built on South Boulevard by Mr. Campisi. Recently, that he built 6 of these over there. So it's a similar design, very kind of neo-traditional, 2-story, small porch in front. And each unit will have a 1-car driveway there. So there's a very high-quality design here. So we were happy to see that there's a substantial investment in the neighborhood.
Nice. Any questions? Next.
That's it for our zoning ordinances and kind of contracts for your consideration. Alex is going to address number 2, B2.
This is a proposal from LaHoist in North America for the annual supply of pebble lime for the city's water utility department. This is used in the water treatment plants for water stabilization and hardness removal. City's annual estimated usage for both facilities is 1,950 tons. And this, in order to procure this, the city issued an ITB with the bid allowing for 5 one-year renewals. The city received 2 bids in response, and Hoist was the lowest responsive responsible bidder. And based upon the city's estimated usage, the estimated cost for FY24 would be $897,000, which is included in Water Utilities FY24 budget. And then Joe Constine's here to provide any additional information if you need it.
Any questions on that? None? C1?
B3.
Oh, I'm sorry. How did I do that?
You were just excited.
Somewhere, I get messed up here.
So this is a task authorization with Tetra Tech to design the extension of the city's water main to a interconnect facility I believe it's just north of intersection 540A and 98 South. So they will do the design and develop the bidding documents for an interconnection. They're analyzing 3 different alternatives to make that connection. We'll hopefully figure out which is the most optimal route for that connection. Total not to exceed cost of the task authorization is $295,325, and that's included in the Water Utilities FY24 budget. I think we've already done quite a bit of work on the actual interconnect station, and this is just...
Yeah, Polk County is handling the interconnect station, and it's an agreement between Lakeland, Polk County, and Bartow. So they're handling all construction of that. This is for our own line to run it down Bartow Highway and connect into this interconnect station. Probably the bigger benefit as PRWC comes online is to be able to wheel water. So water would come into our Williams plant, and we would, I guess, transmit it through our system to either Polk County or Bartow.
Got it. That's good, so let's get this done now.
Yep.
In the future. Any other questions? Okay, next.
We're down to the red light camera contract that Ramona's going to summarize.
Yeah. About a month ago, I think the City Commission saw a presentation that was given by LPD, Chad Mumbauer and Hans Lehman, and giving you a good overview of where our program's been, where we're going, and just some general statistics, and also at that time presented to the commission some potential to either expand the red light cameras that we have, and then also relocation of one of the cameras that was located at Beacon in Florida. And so what we have here today is just the third amendment to that agreement. Probably most importantly, this third amendment extends the contract term for a 5-year period. The contract term of the existing contract doesn't technically expire till January of 2024, but in looking at negotiating this with Vera Mobility, we added some other components to this, as I mentioned, and so it's a 5-year agreement for the extension with 2 additional 2-year renewal options upon mutual written agreement of the parties. Importantly, too, is the relocation of the red light camera that will be moved from Beacon and South Florida. And one of the reasons that I believe you heard in the presentation was that the upgraded camera can't be supported in that location because of just the existing structure of the property, the way it's laid out in the driveways. So that camera is going to be removed, and the recommendation based on city traffic operations was to move that to the intersection at Kathleen Road and the westbound approach of George Jenkins Boulevard. And again, that's based on the traffic crash data that was provided. And during the presentation, the commission was interested in also adding a new red light camera location. And again, based on what traffic ops presented, that new location, it would be at North Florida Avenue and the southbound approach of East Parker Street. So that would be the new location. Probably one of the most significant benefits of the renewal as well, we're maintaining the current pricing for all the cameras as well as the new camera. So there will be no added cost increase. 14 of those cameras will be maintained at $42.50 per camera per month. That's not a cost increase, that's existing what we have. And then there are 4 cameras at a discounted price of $23.75 per camera per month. Again, all those costs will be maintained, there's no cost increase. The only cost will be for the additional camera, which will be at $4,250 per month. So that will be maintained. And another component to this particular amendment that we discussed as well is the automatic license plate reader cameras. LPD was seeking to procure 19 of those. Bureau of Mobility has subcontracted with Flock cameras, and we currently have some ALPR cameras with Flock. So this would add to the existing cameras that we have. Those would be $250 per camera per month. There is also an additional $350 one-time installation fee for those 19 cameras. So that brings the total yearly cost for the 19 ALPR cameras to $57,000 or $285,000 over the 5-year term. And those cameras will be funded from any revenue that's generated from the red light camera program. And I'd also want to make certain that in the event that the revenue generated isn't sufficient to cover the camera costs, we would not be paying those monthly fees that I mentioned with regard to the red light cameras. So what we're presenting here today is for the commission to approve the amendment to extend that agreement term for additional 5-year period with the 2 additional 2-year renewal options, as well as the recommended location to relocate the camera and add the new additional location of the camera, as well as authorize the purchase of the ALPR cameras, which were 19 cameras.
And are those all in the same intersections, the ALPRs?
Those will be decided by,
Or not necessarily?
those can be moved around.
They can be moved around based on needs.
Got it.
Yes.
Because I think that's desirable.
Yes.
So let me just make sure that I understand. So we would never have out-of-pocket costs because we never move into subvened support from that lease?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Wonderful. Any other questions? Yes,
I want to get a clarification. One camera is going to be on Florida Avenue and Park Street. Florida Avenue, is that right? And where's the second one going to be?
The second one, the one that was currently
Kathleen Road
Beacon and
and-
Kathleen and George Jenkins Boulevard.
And the one at Beacon goes away?
Public's okay.
Yeah, the
Beacon
one at
goes
Beacon in Florida will not be supported anymore. That will be removed.
But we're not going to have one at Beacon anymore.
No, no, sir.
Question.
Commissioner
I'm
Simmons.
sorry.
Go ahead.
So the new cameras that are being installed, we've done research to indicate that that's what the need is.
Yes, sir. Traffic ops and LPD work together, and we look at all the crash data over the past couple of years. And the George Jenkins at Kathleen intersection has had an uptick in crashes. And then Parker in Florida has also had, and when we go down our list, it is one of our crash intersections. So the camera only does one approach. So like Ramona said, the southbound approach for Parker at Florida, we look at those, and that's based on input from traffic ops. That's where we feel the best locations are. So we're making a data-driven decision on it.
And technology-wise, it's the most current systems. I mean, you're fine with all that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just a follow-up question, if I may. What about other locations where the data indicate that you may need more cameras? Do you have those? Are there other locations, are there needs for other locations?
we can always add more camera. I mean, I think the thought is, you have to have a balance there on, how many you have versus what you're trying to do. And our goal is to try to reduce crashes, but the more cameras you add requires more staffing and things like that.
What I'm trying to say is, you have a situation where where your data indicate that there are crashes here, and you're only covering what you've got listed so far.
There's other locations, but I think we feel comfortable with what we have right now, yes, yes.
Commissioner McLeod.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief Lehman. The license plate readers, is that technology we're seeing in other cities starting to increase as well?
Yes, absolutely. This will really help us leverage technology a lot more in the city and give us a good investigative tool citywide. There are some cities that have dozens of cameras throughout their city, so we can't be everywhere all the time. So these are really great investigative tools for us when we have a retail theft ring or something like that that's hitting our area. We can go back through those intersections and look. So,
What's your cloud storage on that? I mean, how long?
I don't know. It's the retention rates are probably what Public Records has on them.
Yeah, it's based on the state archive, like the system of retention records.
But that's a ton of data
Yeah, it's a
to
lot.
be posting all the time.
They deal with that. We just have access to it.
Any other questions? Any other comments on the support or the system you want to make? Okay.
Thank you for your support.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a number of utility items, but we do have a utility committee meeting at 11, so we'll hold off on those unless you want to hear.
Nothing, because we'll get them then. All right, anything on behalf of the commissioners? I'm going to kick off with one. We have our next TPO meeting is October the 12th. And the reason I'm bringing it to your attention is that it's really an imperative meeting. And I'm looking at my calendar. It's really an imperative meeting for us to all be at. And the reason is there's some confusion with respect to us giving up a position on TPO as we have 5, and versus maintaining that and adding a position otherwise. In other words, there's some conversation with respect to changing one of our positions, taking it to 4 and letting Davenport area have that, or keeping our 5. And then
6 to 5.
Oh, I'm sorry, 6. 6 to 5, that's right. From, not 4 to 5, from 6 to 5. And then having the TPO add a position, which I think is the far more favorable need for us as a city to make sure that we maintain the positions that we have, given its structure currently and our needs over the years ahead. So having our presence at that meeting, having all the votes necessary in that meeting to make sure that we maintain the 6, and then have an addition to, which was the discussion earlier, is very, very important. Is that the 12th? Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
What day?
October 12th. yeah.
Thursday, October 12th at 9 a.m.
Yeah, reducing seats from 6 to 5, I apologize. And so our goal is to keep the 6. I would think that would be all of our goal, is to keep the 6. So just for vote purposes, it's essential that that is one that we try to make work. Okay, anybody else have something to share?
I just want to congratulate Commissioner Madden got a huge award last night at the CFDC.
I did not know
She got
this.
the Chairs Award.
I didn't know about it either.
For her diligence in the Innovation District and supporting Florida Poly in that whole area.
Awesome.
And so it was it was really exciting.
Really nice.
Awesome. I was,
Maggie Mariucci's been the chair the past year, so Florida Poly, she used that influence, obviously, and had Seth Blackwell from the Williams Company was the speaker.
Right.
And so that's the first time we've had this mysterious Williams Company come in from
and be public.
Oklahoma and Texas and come and actually send a representative and speak to people who care about that.
wonderful, congratulations.
And what was the title of the chairs?
Chairs Award from what group? Central Florida
Central Florida
Development Council.
Thank you.
Mr. Madden, do we have a photo we could
promote on Facebook.
Lindsay Zimmerman will have that, like, or Sean Malat from CFTC.
Excellent.
Oh, I have another exciting thing. So, people don't know this, but my relative at the end of the table is 50 today.
Oh. Awesome.
Thanks,
Happy
cuz.
birthday. Let's sing happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brian. Happy birthday to you.
And I brought a
Yeah, that's less embarrassing. All right, anything else?
50's awesome.
She's awesome.
Even though we're 50's great.
It is very, it's great. I
Get
remember-
away with more.
I can remember it still. All right, so we will see each other at 11 o'clock. Right?
I know.
No, I just.
Yeah.